I'm gonna make this a quick one. Should we pay high tax in the country? Everyone complains, and I get it, you know. And this is coming from someone who lives in the city capital of England, London City. And with every capital, you know, naturally, things are going to be very, very expensive. That comes with the territory. There's no fighting your way out of it. Things are going to be pricey. Things are going to be expensive, you know. It's just the cycle of life. More popular favoured areas are naturally going to have a higher price than others. And to that I say, should we pay a higher price? I would say, depending on the way the government decides to use the money. If they decide to use that money for a good cause, via, you know, paying for the schools, paying for the roads, paying for the power supplies, paying for the job market, investing, just overall using the money to make the country a better place, then why not? A lot of people, man, they start making some money. They start going to Dubai. Honestly, I don't like Dubai. I think it's superficial. It's too hot to live in anyway. And there's a dark side to it that's fucking disgusting, but people want to cover it up like it's heaven. You have all these big mainstream people talking about it like it's the end of the world. I think Europe is a lot better. A lot of people like to shame the West. I live in the West. I'm telling you, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It really isn't as bad now. I'd even go as far to say Europe is the best continent in the world. And that's including the countries in the West. Yeah, England has its problems, sure. And it's not my favourite country, by no means. However, it's pretty good in here, and I'm not going to disregard the qualities that are in this country, because we've got some good shit. We have some good shit in this country, man. You know, and I'd rather stay in England than live in Dubai. 100%. Now, should we pay high taxes? Going to the point, back to the point, yeah. If it's used for a good cause. A lot of people like to complain. They move to an area like Dubai. Oh, it has no taxes. The way I see it is, you paying taxes in a country, I see that like the cost. That's the cost. You need to pay to live a good life. And I don't see an issue with that. And it just goes back to what I was saying earlier. The government uses the money for a good cause. How can I hate for paying high tax? Fine, first, so be it. If I live a better life, hey, it's a good trade-off. I pay. And it's as a return, they use the money for a good cause. They use the money to make sure that people, you know, citizens in your country have a better quality of life. I mean, how can I really complain? It's a good trade-off. It's a good deal. So it's a win-win. When they disobey that, you know, via, you know, protest happening as a result. And yes, that is very unfortunate, extremely unfortunate, but so be it, you know, it happens, it does happen a lot. I'm going to make my way back now, because I actually need to work out in about 8 minutes. I don't know if I can get there in time, but I don't really know the way back, so I'm just using pure instincts, but yeah, that's my take, you know. If they use the money for a good cause, because there are a lot of selfish governments as they are good. With England, I'm not much into politics, but I can say this much: we are in a tight spot right now. I'm not gonna lie. And is England an area where I'd want to live at for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. Far from it. No. Now I will stay in Europe, because I do believe Europe is the best continent in the world. But I'd rather live elsewhere. That's not in England. One, because I just want to make a change of scenery, a change of life. You know, I like changing it. Paying high tax. Now the best case scenario, because believe it or not, many people hate on living in the capital. But I know deep down they probably want to live in the capital. Obviously, this can be dependent on whether they like rural and prefer a rural life or an urban life. But I'm aiming at the people who do prefer an urban life. It sounds very anyway. The people who do prefer an urban life, but maybe hate on living in the capital, I can see why they would not want to. And also because, you know, the tourist attractions, the abundance of people, the traffic, I understand, 100%. But there are also a lot of people who would love to live in the capital city, but they just like the income, and I sympathise and I empathise also, because it's hard. It can be hard at times. But like I said, there's a lot of people who want to live here. but they're just unable to afford to. You know, the trade-off with an expensive capital city being, you know, we have the food's better naturally, and with that cost, a higher price. Services are better, but you know, comes at a cost. That's just what arrives with it. And it's like, are you willing to make that trade-off? A lot of people hate on tax. Everyone needs to pay tax unless you're a wheel. You know, I used to always think, and I guess to some degree it's unfair, how certain authorities have privileges over others, you know, us being the working class, just being regular citizens living in the city, and monarchs, because we have monarchs in England. I'd always complain as a kid as saying, how come we have to pay tax and they're living for free? And it's unfair, yeah, pretty much. However, when you just come to the acceptance, it's always been like this. I mean, you just gotta play your part as a citizen, because what else can you really do, man? I guess I will most definitely say the more money you have living in the area, I can tell you for sure your quality of life will be a lot better. And those are the people who are really winning. The more income you make, and this is not to base your self-worth solely on income, but I will say the more money you make, and this is contingent, maybe it may be contingent on the lifestyle you live, so there's many other factors to this also, so don't just base your complete self-worth on the amount of money you make. But I almost definitely say the more money you make, the more likely you are to enjoy the finer things that a capital city or just an expensive city has to offer. You know, if it means I can watch nice films in the cinema, eat nice, healthy, organic food, do nice activities, leisure stuff, just the things that interest me. And I'm not even an outgoing person like that. I'm not. I'm an introvert, I prefer my own company. And I don't even like going outside. I don't like going outside as much. I'm doing it now because, hey, it's the morning. It's about 5 past 6 in the morning. You know, early. Not many people are awake. So I figured, hey, because trust me guys, I'm a big introvert, believe me when I tell you. Filming like this in the public, last thing I would want to do. You know? Especially walking past people. But it's early in the morning and I'm thinking most people are, not many are really awake. Don't get me wrong, they see a good quality, but they're just going to work. No one really cares, you know? And there's not really anyone in the way, so I can kind of just walk to wherever I want to go. Did I just come back to the same area twice? I feel like I did, I don't know. I'm gonna try to find a way back to the park. Yeah, but that's my view, how I see it. Wait, let this brother go past the bike. Yeah, so you pay high tax. Well, it depends on what your authority figure of your country is using the money for. I'm gonna end off by saying this because I feel like I've already been in this area. Started this route now. It looks similar. But yeah, I will say this. Depending on, you know, how your authority figure uses the money, you know, for good reason or bad. If it's for a good reason and you genuinely love the services being provided there, go for it. Go for it, man. I don't let that stop you. Yeah, you may need to be a bit more frugal with the money, and I guess that may be easier depending on the values to which your country has. But if you really enjoy and love your country, hey, life may just be tough, but you may have to take a few days off or years off and live somewhere else where for the meantime build your money up to be in a position where you're able to go to where you really want to again. That does happen. Do that if it means you can come back to the area you love. That's my take on should we pay high taxes. I just see it as the cost of living the good life that you desire. Because, hey, this is one hard thing I learned. Nothing in this world is free. By no means, brother. Nothing. Everything's at a cost, whether you like it or not. And it will especially hit you once you're done with school, which is like 18 plus. Or really start to become congruent. Really start to hit you in the line. Everything comes at a cost. Everything has a price. Though not everything may have a label. But one thing's for sure, a price is to be paid. That's some form of time to get what you want.